Released at the tail end of the 1980s, Colin Eggleston's film Outback Vampires represents a shift in the depiction of the Australian landscape on film. Embracing schlock, irony and surrealism, Outback Vampires rejected the cinematic trend of classical realist portrayals of the Australian outback filmed up to that point. Eggleston's film signifies a departure in cultural attitudes towards the mythologies that had dominated discussions of the Australian outback.
Where nature is harsh and demanding, where only the quick and the strong and the deadly can survive, this place is no place for civilized man.
And there's no place left to run. When all that's left is one last chance.
While the film only contains a handful of exterior shots, the landscape is central to the story, or rather, the narratives that define the Australian landscape. Broken down in a rural town in the middle of nowhere, Lucy, Bronco and Nick are invited to the manor of Sir Alfred. The estate is a symbol of colonialism specific to America, an antebellum-style plantation operating as a slaughterhouse that employs the community.
Leave them around when they finish with them and we tidy them up. Yarralumla's a tidy tune.
Well, who'd want to build a factory out here?
It's near a factory. It's a slaughterhouse.
The design of the estate and its interior, decorated with priceless cultural artifacts, is a sharp contrast to representations of the Australian outback up to 1987. This contrast challenges an integral notion emblematic of Australian cinema up to that point: culture and nature at odds. Ross Gibson observes that the intractability of the Australian outback is an essential part of the national ethos. Compared to European societies endowed with myths of belonging, the Australian landscape is not a nurturing mother, instead an indomitable opponent. Resistant to culture and unsullied by society, the land itself has been considered in the national psyche to contain an innate system of native Australian meaning. Challenging this notion, Eggleston's film presents images of nature at the command of an industrialist bourgeois elite. The indomitability of the Australian landscape is aligned with the inexorable progress of industry.
Natural phenomenon of some kind. Sir Alfred is a responsible scientist.
What about the bones?
The bones? Surely you don't think they're human bones?
And what do you think's in this can then, eh?
Oh, you're crazy.
The term vampire can now be seen to denote Sir Alfred's physical being, as well as his exploitation of the land. It is revealed later in the film that Sir Alfred was knighted for his scientific achievements in harnessing nature.
Kind of research.
He has a theory that weather patterns can be harnessed and put to work to change the cycles of the human body. Biorhythmic bloom.
The estate, a psychic monument of his ability to command nature, Sir Alfred is the embodiment of the unconquerable Australian landscape.
Quick, another one!
The relationship between culture and nature is still represented as extremely volatile. Listen to the warp sounds of the doorbell.
Open it now. Really right.
And note the classic vulnerability of vampires.
Pit stop, Nick.
That's sunlight, right? Well, vampires can't live in sunlight.
Scott and Byron suggest that the decaying buildings and deserted towns familiar to the Australian Gothic subgenre is symbolic of the decay of rural life at the hands of modernisation, and perhaps plays on a colonial fear of being detached from history and culture. Ultimately, the film exhibits an extreme skepticism of Anglo-Saxon culture and capitalism. The estate crumbles not due to its failure to modernise, but more so due to a colonial guilt. The estate's refusal to align its interests with the welfare of the community precipitates its own decay.
The air. It's thinner. Something's sucking the life out of it.
We were only here last night, and now it looks like nobody's lived here for years.
Hold on, it's dropping.
In the end, it is not the land that consumes Sir Alfred. Instead, he falls victim to a united community of stereotypical Aussies.